Political pop quiz. Disable the pause button, camera guy. Because that's cheating. You want to learn something? Learn it on your own time. Oh, wait. Pencils up. Begin. The words separation of church and state appear in A, the U.S. Constitution, B, the Declaration of Independence, C, the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, but of course you already knew that, D, the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, E, the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, F, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, G, all of the above, H, none of the above, or I, some of the above. Mark all that apply. And time's up, pencils down. What? It was only one question. The answer is B, no D. Just kidding, C. Ha. It's got to be I, H, or G. Really, seriously. Did you even think about this? The real answer is actually H, none of the above. Surprised? Of course you're not. I mean, you are, but you're not. Wait a minute. You're hearing about it all the time in the news, right? The fight about having the 10 Commandments in a courtroom or whether or not kids should be praying to Obama? The separation of church and state is one of the hallmarks of American freedom. Here's the problem. Misconception. Not only do you not know where to find the phrase separation of church and state, most people don't even know what it means. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Some of you are very smart. Maybe you know what it means. Pop quiz, 2-page essay before you leave class. Here's the deal. Separation of church and state doesn't have to be explicitly mentioned in the Constitution because it's already in there. Where, you ask? It's built in by omission. There's no state-sponsored religion. Ask yourself this question. Is there just one legal religion in the U.S.? Or is it like Iran, Egypt, and Pakistan? Places where there's only one legal religion and no separation between church and state. I feel like I should clarify something. Our nation is technically not a Christian nation. Nope, and it never has been. It was founded on enlightened Christian ideals, and I say enlightened because the founding fathers allowed for other religions to exist. You know, non-Christian religions. It's that freedom to worship space monkeys if you want. And you have to remember, when the Constitution was drafted, religious freedom wasn't really en vogue. Freedom of religion? Heretics. That's probably going to make some of our viewers mad, but like it or not, the teachings of Jesus Christ are not established laws in America. Based on them, but not established laws. So technically, it's not a Christian nation. Sure, Christian ideals were the inspiration for the freedoms we enjoy, and some things like thou shalt not kill made it onto the law books, you know, in one form or another. But that being said, people still act shocked that some of our laws may actually have religious roots. What? Well, when you live in a country founded on religious principles, it shouldn't come as that much of a surprise. I know everyone's heard about the Supreme Court ruling on removing the 10 Commandments off an Alabama courthouse. Interestingly enough, Moses and the 10 Commandments are depicted on the architecture of the Supreme Court building too. But they're not tearing that down. Whether you like those stone carvings or not, it's part of our history, and it seems a little sad to me that people are so eager to get rid of it just because they disagree with what it says. It's like a Western version of when the Taliban whipped out their AK-47s and went to town on an 1800-year-old statue of Buddha. We don't like this place's history, so we're just gonna tear it down and pretend it didn't happen. Great plan. Way to preserve our cultural heritage. We're Americans, we don't have any culture. Now that we've told you what it is, we'll also tell you what it isn't. Separation of church and state is not the elimination of all religious influence in government, as some people use it these days. I heard an acquaintance of mine advocating not voting based on your religious beliefs, as if everyone should become agnostic at the polls. The right to vote based on your view of the world is a fundamental one, and all of our laws are based on morality, what we as a nation believe is right and wrong. If people weren't allowed to vote based on their religious convictions, that would be a kind of state-sponsored religion, an atheistic religion, and that would be taking away from the separation of church and state, because it's someone telling you what you have to believe. Yes, atheism is its own religion, a replacement for other religion, a belief that there is no God. Time to switch gears. You know how He-Man would always say something like, "Stop, Skeletor, you don't know what you're doing." But then Skeletor would never listen and he'd just call He-Man a fool and then go along with his plan and wind up in a ton of trouble, which He-Man would have to bail him out of. There are some very vocal groups out there who want to take away church tax exempt status. This might be a less effective strategy. Yeah, in the short run, if you don't like religious influence in government, taking away church tax exempt status looks like a win, because it takes away some of their money. But it's not. It could actually be the most counterproductive thing you could possibly do. First of all, just because you take away a church's special tax status doesn't mean their congregations will dry up overnight. In fact, it might be perceived as an attack and increase their zealousness. Is that a word? That's a word. Zealousness. Look it up. All you'll really do is force churches to incorporate. But guess what? Over the last 100 years, big businesses have perfected the art of paying as little tax as possible. Right now, churches generally avoid political involvement. because they might lose their tax-exempt status. They don't overtly campaign for political candidates or directly contribute to them, but you take away that status, and there will be no more inhibitions. This may effectually turn every church in America into a lobbying organization. And once they're corporations and not churches anymore, they can start doing all sorts of exciting things like openly endorsing candidates, giving huge monetary donations directly to the causes they support, and using their church facilities for political rallies. Whoops. You see, they don't do all that right now, and the leash that's holding them back is their tax-exempt status. Just think about the trade-off. You'll be taking away a little bit of their money and giving them the unlimited ability to influence government. And that's provided their congregations don't start giving them more because they feel threatened. If that happens, well then you've lost in every measurable way. Like I said, not a great strategy. Unless, of course, your goal all along was to make the majority of American religious institutions into lobbying corporations, drastically increasing religious influence in American government. In which case, you nailed it. No, stop, Skeletor. You don't know what you're doing. And just in case you're wondering, in 1802, President Thomas Jefferson wrote to the Danbury Baptist Association that the First Amendment had built a, quote, wall of separation between church and state. And that's where the famous phrase comes from. Class dismissed.
I have the power!